August 12, 1940, 6:45 in the morning. The English Channel lies gray and restless beneath a low ceiling of cloud. On a stretch of windswept coastline near Dover, a tall steel tower hums with quiet purpose. It does not move. It does not flash. It simply listens. Inside a concrete room at the base of the structure, aircraftman second class Thomas Reed presses one ear cup tighter against his head. The air smells faintly of oil and hot dust. A pencil rests between his fingers, its tip already worn flat from hours of waiting. Then the line on the screen twitches, not dramatically, just enough. Thomas leans closer. The signal is thin at first, a faint ripple where there should be none. He adjusts a dial. The ripple grows. One becomes many. Shapes forming where open sea should be empty. "Contact," he says, his voice steady but low. No cheers, no panic, just motion. A phone is lifted, coordinates spoken, altitude guessed, direction marked. The message moves inland faster than any aircraft ever could. Far from the coast, in a dim operations room at Bentley Priory, a map of southern England glows under hanging lamps. Women in blue uniforms push small wooden blocks across the surface. Red for enemy, blue for friendly. Each block clicks softly as it slides. Flight Officer Margaret Ellis checks her watch. She has been awake since before dawn. She doesn't ask if the report is real. The system has already decided that. "Plot it," she says. On the map, the red blocks appear. Not one raid, several, spaced carefully, moving with intent. Across the channel, the same morning feels very different. At a Luftwaffe airfield near Calais, Major Wilhelm Krauss watches ground crews pull chocks from beneath the wheels of his bombers. Engines cough, then roar to life. The smell of fuel and exhaust fills the air. Men shout to be heard over the noise. Krauss checks his watch and smiles. Intelligence reports have been reassuring. British defenses are scattered, their air force slow to react. Radar stations, if they exist at all, are fragile and easily avoided. The plan is simple. Fly low, fly fast, hit the airfields before the fighters can rise. "The English will see us when we are already above them," one of his officers had said the night before. Krauss believed it. Back on the coast, Thomas Reed traces the growing cluster on his screen. The shapes are clearer now. This is no test, no stray patrol. This is an attack. He swallows, then speaks again, louder this time. Another phone rings. Another message moves inland. Each report stacks neatly on the last, building a picture that only a few people will ever fully see. Miles away, on a grassy airfield in Kent, Pilot Officer James Carter is halfway through a mug of tea when the siren begins to wail. It is not the shrill scream of an air raid warning. This sound is sharper, shorter, personal. Carter sets the mug down without finishing it. Around him, men are already running. Boots pound against packed earth. Engines start in quick succession. The smell of burned fuel fills the morning air. There is no confusion, no shouting questions. They know where to go. In the cockpit, Carter pulls his straps tight as the propeller spins into a blur. He does not see the coast. He does not see the radar tower. He does not see Thomas Reed or Margaret Ellis. But their work is guiding his hands. High above the channel, German bomber crews scan the horizon. The sea stretches wide and empty beneath them. No fighters, no flak. The formation holds steady. Krauss feels a flicker of satisfaction. Everything is going as planned. Then a voice crackles over the radio. "Enemy fighters, 11 o'clock. Hi." At first, he thinks it must be a mistake. Too soon. Far too soon. But then he sees them. Dark shapes diving out of the cloud. Sunlight flashes off wings. The sky that was empty moments before is suddenly alive with motion. Back in the operations room, Margaret Ellis watches blue blocks slide into place. Squadrons meeting the enemy, not by chance, but by design. She exhales slowly, then reaches for the next report already arriving. This is not luck. This is not instinct. This is a warning system the enemy does not understand and has already underestimated, and the morning is only just beginning. By 7:10, the sky over southern England is no longer quiet. James Carter banks hard to the left, the horizon tilting as the nose of his fighter drops. The engine howls, a living thing straining at the limits of metal and fuel. Ahead, the bombers fill his windscreen, long dark shapes moving with grim confidence. They were not supposed to be here yet. That thought flashes through his mind as tracer fire cuts white lines through the air. He squeezes the trigger. The aircraft shudders. Smoke blooms from one bomber's wing, thin at first, then thicker. Below, fields and hedgerows blur together. The fight is fast, brutal. Over in seconds, then minutes. No time to think about fear. Only angles. Speed. Survival. Far behind the lines, Thomas Reed has no idea what Carter sees. He hears none of it. For him, the war is a quiet room and a glowing screen. The returns are breaking apart now, some fading suddenly, others scattering in tight, frantic movements. He marks them carefully. Every change matters. Raid splitting, he reports. The message travels through wires, through voices, through rooms where maps glow and clocks tick louder than they should. At Bentley Priory, Margaret Ellis rubs her eyes, then straightens. The early confidence of the enemy is unraveling right in front of her. German formations are no longer smooth lines. They are fragments. She signals for another squadron to be released. There is no celebration in her voice, only precision. Across the channel, Major Wilhelm Krauss grips the edge of his command table. Reports are coming in too fast now. Bombers turning back early, escorts pulled into swirling dogfights, timetables collapsing. This should not be happening, he mutters. The British fighters are not rising late. They are not scrambling blindly. They are meeting the raids at altitude, in strength, again and again. Someone suggests coincidence. Another officer mentions British luck. Krauss says nothing. He is thinking about the coast, about how early the fighters appeared, about how often. On the radar chain, Thomas Reed's pencil pauses for the first time that morning. A new signal emerges far to the south, another raid forming, larger than the last. He feels it in his chest before he speaks, a tightening, a sense of weight. New contact, he says. This time his voice carries urgency. The system responds instantly. Phones ring, blocks slide. Squadrons are held back, then released at just the right moment. Not too early, not too late. James Carter lands briefly to refuel. Sweat runs down his back as ground crews swarm the aircraft. He does not ask how many enemy planes are still coming. He doesn't need to. The siren sounds again before his engine has even cooled. As he lifts off for the second time, he glances east. Smoke stains the sky where the first battle burned itself out. Beyond it, fresh shapes are already forming. The Germans came expecting surprise. Instead, they have flown straight into an invisible web, one they still cannot see and do not yet believe exists. And every minute they spend denying it costs them the sky. Late morning settles in, but the tension does not ease. It thickens. By 10 o'clock, the airfields of southern England are running on instinct and exhaustion. Fuel trucks move without orders. Ammunition belts are fed into wings by hands that shake only when the work is done. Pilots speak less now. There's nothing left to explain. James Carter climbs again, his throat dry, his eyes aching from scanning the sky. The sun sits higher now, burning through cloud and glare alike. It should favor the attackers. Clear weather always does. Yet the radio crackles with calm direction. Vector 085, Angels 15. Carter does not question the voice. He never has. He turns, trusting that someone far away can see what he cannot. Above the channel, a new German formation presses on. These bombers fly higher, tighter. Their escorts cling close. Orders have changed. Surprise is gone, so force must replace it. Major Wilhelm Krause watches their progress on a board marked with chalk. He hates chalk. It smudges too easily. Erases certainty with one careless sleeve. Reports arrive in fragments. Again, British fighters appear too early. Again, bombers are forced to break formation. Again, losses mount before targets are reached. This is not how a weak Air Force behaves, Krause says quietly. No one answers him. Back on the coast, Thomas Reed has stopped noticing the time. His world has narrowed to pulses and lines and numbers spoken into a phone. He has learned to recognize patterns, the way enemy formations pause, the way they turn, the moment when confidence gives way to confusion. He marks it all. At one point, he realizes his hands are trembling. He steadies them against the desk. There is no room for error now. Too many lives hang on lines he cannot even see. In the operations room, Margaret Ellis allows herself a single breath. The Germans are changing tactics. That much is clear. What they have not done is change their belief. They still think the British response is reactive, that fighters are simply quick to scramble. That luck favors the defenders. They do not understand that the response was already waiting. James Carter spots the bombers first this time, black dots against blue sky growing larger by the second. He feels no triumph, only focus. The attack comes fast, short bursts, close passes, a violent dance that leaves no room for hesitation. He sees a bomber peel away, engine smoking. Another drops its load early, bombs falling harmlessly into open countryside. Below, farmers look up, shielding their eyes, unaware of how narrowly the storm passes them. Krause receives the word he has been dreading. Bombing accuracy is poor. Losses are unacceptable. Someone finally mentions radar. Impossible, another officer snaps. Primitive equipment, easily avoided. Krause does not argue, but the thought will not leave him. On the coast, a radar station takes a near miss. The ground shakes, dust falls from the ceiling. Thomas Reed flinches, then checks the screen. The signal is still there. He exhales, almost laughing, then catches himself. This is no victory, just survival. By early afternoon, the pattern is undeniable. Every major raid is met, every feint is tracked, every attempt at deception is seen for what it is. The Luftwaffe is flying blind against an enemy that can see through cloud, darkness, and distance. James Carter lands again, his aircraft scarred, his arms heavy. He pulls off his helmet and sits for a moment, staring at nothing. "How did they know?" someone asks nearby. Carter shrugs. "They always know." He does not mean it as praise, just fact. As the day wears on, German formations turn back earlier. Escorts grow cautious, bombers jettison loads to escape. The sky belongs less and less to those who arrived believing it already did. Major Krauss stands alone as evening approaches. He watches the chalk lines erased and redrawn. The truth presses in, unwelcome but unavoidable. The enemy was never surprised. They were ready. And, by failing to understand that readiness, Germany has begun to lose something far more important than aircraft. They have lost control of the battle itself. By late afternoon, the rhythm of the day has changed. The airfields are quieter now, but not calmer. Smoke drifts low across the grass, carried by a light wind that smells of fuel and scorched metal. Mechanics wipe their hands on rags already blackened beyond saving. Someone sits on an upturned crate, staring at the ground, helmet still on. James Carter leans against his aircraft, listening to the ticking sound of hot metal cooling. His legs ache, his shoulders burn. He tries to remember the last time he drank water. In the distance, another squadron lifts off, engines roaring into the pale sky. The war does not pause just because one man is tired. Inside the radar station, Thomas Reed finally allows himself to sit. The chair creaks under his weight. His shift should have ended hours ago, but no one has mentioned it. No one needs to. The screen still glows, still watches. The returns are fewer now, smaller, more cautious. Enemy formations no longer surge forward with confidence. They hesitate, they probe, they turn away at the first sign of resistance. Thomas marks the change with a quiet sense of disbelief. The system is working, not just once, not by chance, but repeatedly, reliably. At Bentley Priory, Margaret Ellis removes her jacket and drapes it over the back of her chair. Her voice is hoarse from hours of orders and confirmations. She studies the map, not for what is there, but for what is missing. The German raids are thinning, not stopping, not retreating in defeat, but adjusting in ways that reveal uncertainty. Their attacks have lost their rhythm. Their timing is off. Their formations no longer arrive together. For the first time that day, she allows herself a small nod. Across the channel, Major Wilhelm Krause does not nod. He stands in silence as the final reports arrive. Numbers, losses, incomplete objectives, escorts running low on fuel, bombers forced to turn back again and again. No single disaster, no dramatic collapse, just erosion. One of his officers speaks carefully. "Herr Major, if the British are detecting us this early, our planning assumptions may be flawed." Krause closes his eyes for a moment. Flawed is a gentle word. The truth is harsher. The Luftwaffe has been fighting an opponent it never truly assessed. An opponent whose strength lies not just in aircraft or pilots, but in coordination, in restraint, in seeing the battle before it begins. Back in England, the sun dips lower. Long shadows stretch across runways and fields. The last interceptions of the day fade into memory as aircraft return, some damaged, some not at all. James Carter climbs down from his cockpit for the final time. He removes his helmet slowly as if the day might break if he moves too fast. Someone hands him a cup of tea. It is lukewarm and tastes faintly of metal. He drinks it anyway. No one celebrates. There are too many empty spaces where people should be. Too many aircraft that did not return. But there is something else in the air, quieter than relief. Confidence. Not the loud kind, not arrogance. The kind that comes from understanding. Thomas Reed steps outside as evening settles over the coast. The tower behind him stands dark now, its work done for the moment. The sea looks calm again, almost peaceful. He knows better. Far away, Major Krause watches the same sky from the opposite shore. He understands now that surprise is gone, and with it, the simplicity of the plan. The enemy will not be caught unprepared. Not tomorrow, not easily, perhaps not at all. The realization settles heavily. The battle for Britain's skies has not been decided in a single day. But something fundamental has shifted. An advantage has been revealed and ignored for too long. And once revealed, it cannot be unseen. Night comes slowly in August, stretching the day as if unwilling to let it end. The last aircraft settles onto the runway just after sunset. Its engine sputters, then dies. Silence follows, broken only by the ticking of cooling metal and distant voices carried by the wind. James Carter stands at the edge of the field, helmet under his arm. The sky above him is streaked with fading light, pale orange bleeding into blue. Somewhere up there, hours earlier, men tried to kill him. Now it looks impossibly calm. He thinks of the first moment that morning, when the siren sounded before the tea had cooled. He did not know then how the day would unfold. He only knew where to go. That knowledge made all the difference. Inside the radar station, Thomas Reed finishes his final report. His handwriting is uneven now, fatigue pressing hard against his concentration. He sets the pencil down and rubs his eyes. For most of the day, he never saw an enemy aircraft, never heard a shot fired. Yet he knows, with a certainty that surprises him, that he was part of every fight. The screen is dark now, but its memory lingers. At Bentley Priory, Margaret Ellis watches the operations room empty. The map remains on the table, blocks frozen where they last stood. She does not move them. Tomorrow will bring new shapes, new threats, new calculations. But tonight, the picture tells a clear story. The Luftwaffe came with numbers, confidence, and a belief in speed and shock. What they met was patience, integration, a system built not to impress, but to endure. Across the channel, Major Wilhelm Krause sits alone with his thoughts. The reports have been filed, the excuses exhausted. He stares at a map similar to the British one, though far less alive. For weeks, German planners dismissed British radar as crude. Static towers, fixed targets, easy to destroy, easy to bypass. They never truly tried to understand it. What they ignored was not just the machines, but the network behind them. The quiet discipline, the measured response, the refusal to waste strength too early or too late. Surprise, once lost, does not return. Krauss realizes now that every raid met by waiting fighters was not bad luck. It was design. Every failed bombing run, not coincidence, but consequence. The sky over Britain was never empty. It was watched. Back on the coast, Thomas Reed locks the station door and steps into the cool evening air. The sea is dark now, reflecting the first stars. He takes a long breath, unaware that years later historians will struggle to explain what happened without ever mentioning his name. That is fine with him. James Carter heads toward the mess, exhaustion finally catching up. He passes aircraft lined up in the dusk, their silhouettes familiar and reassuring. They look small on the ground, fragile. In the air, guided by unseen hands, they are something else entirely. The Battle of Britain will not end tonight. There will be more raids, more losses, more days when the outcome hangs by a thread. But this day matters. It marks the moment when the enemy's confidence cracked, when the belief in overwhelming force met a quieter, sharper truth. Technology alone did not win the sky, nor did courage by itself. It was connection. A warning whispered along the coast, a map lit by steady lamps, a pilot turning at the right moment, not by instinct, but by trust. Germany came seeking dominance through surprise. Instead, they revealed how little they understood the battlefield above them. And once that misunderstanding was exposed, it could not be repaired. The sky over Britain would remain contested, violent, unforgiving, but it would never again belong to those who thought it was unguarded.